We would like to begin by acknowledging the land in which we gather and on which the region of Peel and City of Toronto operates, is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land and continue to do so today. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabeg, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwa Chippewa peoples, the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants.
Welcome to the PLASP annual parent meeting, and what a night we have planned. Thanks so much for joining us for the most special event of the PLASP calendar, and that's our annual parent and community meeting. PLASP has been providing families with high-quality early learning and childcare programs for 46 years. As we look back on the past year, there was much to celebrate. Last year began with COVID restrictions and health and safety guidelines in place. But gradually through the year, restrictions lifted and guidelines changed. By the spring, we were able to welcome families back into our programs and centers, and we celebrated this with spring events that I know many of you had an opportunity to enjoy. We continued to work on our core values of diversity, equity, and inclusion, implementing many initiatives and programs this past year, and have made a commitment in the coming year to work with Mesh Diversity under the leadership of Dr. Lino Caramancheri, who will guide our DEI strategic direction. Historic news was made this past year with the announcement of Ontario signing the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement that will ultimately see families with children under 6 enrolled in childcare centers and in kindergarten programs receiving high-quality childcare programs for an average of $10 per day by 2025. This landmark agreement will forever change childcare in Canada. Collectively, working together, we will shape the future of childcare in Canada. Our community partners, staff, and families have all contributed to our success, so thank you. We're better together. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our feature presenters, Scientists in School. Since 1989, over 10 million children in Canada have been transformed into scientists with Scientists in Schools, hands-on classroom and community workshops. Scientists in Schools is a leading national science, technology, engineering, and math education charity that annually inspires over 700,000 children and youth in Canada to be confident in STEM, build critical thinking skills, heighten their interest in STEM careers, and dream of a future they perhaps never thought possible. They are passionate about inspiring children to experience a sense of wonder and gain a real understanding about the world around them. Please welcome Scientists in School.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Scientist Jen, and I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. I'm going to start us off with a discussion on static electricity, and then we're going to move over to Scientist Heather, who's going to talk with you about bird calls. Then you're going to come back to me, and we're going to discuss the science of a paper helicopter. We're going to end tonight with a question and answer period where we are so excited to hear your voices and hear your questions. Scientist Erin is going to open up the chat right now. So if you have any questions at all throughout our presentation, you can go ahead and put those questions into the chat right away, and we'll be ready to answer those questions at the end of our presentation tonight. All right, who's ready to discuss static electricity? Friends, have you ever gone down a slide and had your hair all stand up? Or perhaps you've touched something, maybe a doorknob or another person, and had that little zap? My friends, that is static electricity. And we're going to talk about the science of that, as well as hopefully generate some of that tonight. I'm going to flip my screen, and I'm going to show you some items that maybe you have around you tonight that hopefully we can use to generate some static electricity. All right, friends, here comes my other camera. Let's see if you can see that. Here we go, friends. So you've already probably gathered either a balloon or maybe a plastic spoon or a plastic comb. You don't need everything here, my friends, but maybe you're able to also gather a piece of toilet paper or a tissue or some paper towel. Maybe you have some tin foil. Maybe you have a toothpick or a pencil handy, or this is a little bit of tissue paper. Maybe you've seen some of that in a gift you've received. I also have a little bit of Play-Doh here. It's all right if you don't have any of these items all with you. I'm sure you have some of them, my friends. We have some scissors here. And in case you're wondering what this item is, my friends, this is a citrus peeler, which can be used instead of the spoon or the balloon or the comb if you don't have one of those. All right, friends, I'll give you a moment to see if you can gather maybe just a few. You do not need all of these items, but maybe you could find one or two of those extra items that might help us with our static electricity tonight. Many thanks to all the adult helpers who are helping out our young scientists tonight as well. Oh, well done, everybody. I'm going to flip back to my other camera, and I'm going to go into a demo. Nope, did not go. There we go, friends. Sorry about the slow camera switch. All right, friends. So I'm going to do a demo with you about static electricity. We're going to see if I can get one going. So friends, what I've got here is I've got some sections of a plastic bag all cut up. Maybe you've seen plastic bags around your house and you thought, what else could I do with those? So I just cut some up into make sort of what looks like a ribbon. It almost looks like a little bit of hair, doesn't it? And then I've just taped the end of it there. Nothing too exciting. And we're going to see if we can make some static electricity with that. I'm going to also use a balloon tonight as well. Now, again, you could do this with your comb or your spoon, whatever you've chosen to use. All right, my friends. Now, in nature, everything is neutral. That doesn't mean it doesn't have charges inside of it. All items are made up of atoms, and atoms are made up of electrons and protons. Electrons are negative, and protons are positive. And if we bring these items together, we're going to see we're not seeing anything terribly exciting happening. And that's because they're neutral. But sometimes when we rub items together, some items lose electrons and some items will gain electrons. And that's where static electricity comes from. So friends, let's see if we can generate some static electricity using my balloon and my little bit of ribbons. I'm going to put it down and I'm going to try rubbing it. So let's see if anything can happen here. Give a little bit of a rub. See if we can't move those electrons around. And let's see. Oh, did you see that happen? Look at that. I've got my balloon and my ribbon. And do you see that? I'm going to bring it even closer to the screen. There they go. So my friends, when I rubbed the ribbon with the balloon actually took some of the electrons from the ribbon. So now we've got a balloon with extra electrons. So my balloon is negatively charged. And I've got a ribbon that has lost some electrons. So it's positive, and those opposite charges are going to attract. Friends, that is static electricity. Now, watching me do it on the screen isn't as much fun as you doing it. So my friends, let's see if we could use some of the items that you may have gathered to generate static electricity. Did you maybe gather a tissue, either maybe a Kleenex or some toilet paper, or perhaps even a paper towel? Let's see if you can't do it yourself. Go ahead and put that down. And then what are you using to charge up tonight? I've got a balloon, but you could use a comb, or you could use a spoon, whatever you've got. But friends, you have to charge it up. So you have to decide something to rub it on. What will you choose? You could use your hair. You could use your clothing. You could use somebody else's hair, which is pretty fun as well if you have a volunteer. You could use the carpet or a rug. I'm going to use this big furry pillow because that works really well for me. If you don't have a big furry pillow, a stuffy works really well if you have a favorite stuffed toy. What will you use? Go ahead and find something and charge up your item. Charge, 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 rub it up. See if you can't steal those electrons. And let's see if it worked. Will it work with our tissue? Let's find out. There we go. It's working with mine. Is it working with yours? You might have to charge it up more if it's not working, or perhaps it isn't working with your item. Let's try something else. Maybe we'll try some tissue paper. Perhaps you've gotten some tissue paper in a gift before. I often see mine sticking out the top of the gift. That's a lot of fun. Charge up your item again. Let's see what happens this time. Are you ready? Look at that, my friends. It's all sticking to it. Oh my goodness. It's really stuck onto my balloon. What about yours? All right, friends. Why don't we try something else? Were you able to find some tin foil? Got to get my tissue paper off here first. Let's try tin foil next. Did you find some tin foil? Let's try our tin foil. All right, my friends, charge up your item one more time. Bring it down to your tin foil and look at that, friends. It's so strong it's able to pick it up. In fact, static electricity can be quite strong. It can hold things not only up. Let's see if it'll hold my balloon to the wall. Take a look at that, friends. Isn't that fun? Now, if you have if you have tin foil, I want you to try something else with it. I want you to actually either cut it up or rip it up into teeny tiny pieces and squish it up into little balls about the size of a tic tac. I know that's going to take you just a moment, friends, but something really fun happens with static electricity and tinfoil this tiny. Go ahead and break it up into little tiny pieces. You can cut it or you can rip it. That's up to you. I've got mine ready, of course. Give you just a moment to get that ready. I'm going to spread mine out here so you can see mine. I'm going to take my balloon down there. Have you got yours ready? And friends, if you don't have tinfoil at the moment, you can always get some and you can always do this later. That's absolutely fine. All right, friends, wonderful. All right, now friends, I want you to keep your eyes on the foil. This is really fun to watch. Eyes on the foil. I'm going to charge up my balloon. All right, ready, set, eyes on the foil, and watch what happens this time. Do you see them go? They're bouncing up and down like popcorn. In fact, I think you might have even heard them through my microphone. That's right. What's happening there? We didn't see that with our other items. We've got a second force coming into play here. The static electricity is pulling the tinfoil up. But friends, did anybody see that second force coming into play? What's pulling it down? This is my favorite force. It's on Earth. What is it? I hear you. It's gravity. That's right, friends. So static is pulling up, and at the same time, gravity is pulling down. Now, it's always a question of which force is stronger. In the case of the tissue paper where you saw it stuck right to my balloon, the static won. But if we tried as hard as we could with the biggest balloon in the world, we couldn't charge up enough static electricity to lift a car. It just weighs too much. But lucky for us, these little balls of tinfoil are just the perfect weight. They balance the two forces almost perfectly. So static will pull them up, gravity will pull them down, static will pull it back up, gravity will pull it down, and they bounce around a little bit like those popcorn kernels. Isn't that fun to watch? I don't know about you, but I really like static electricity. So friends, so far we have seen up and down and to the wall, of course, behind me. But what we haven't seen is anything go spinning around. Can we use static electricity to make things spin in circles? That's what we're going to look at next. I'm going to switch you over to my other camera again, and we're going to explore if we can make static electricity turn things around in circles. All right, friends, let's see if we can't do that. I'm just going to flip my camera, and we'll go over there. Okay, friends, to do this, we're going to use some of our other materials now. So friends, this is why I have the Play-Doh out. Maybe you don't have Play-Doh, that's okay. You can use anything you want for this. I'm just going to get my Play-Doh out. There we go. You can use Play-Doh, you can use clay, anything at all that you could stand either a toothpick or Even a pencil would work really well here. As long as you can stand it up so you've got that point, that's fine. You could even use a spoon standing up. That would work just as well. We're going to use our scissors and we're going to use a square of either tissue or toilet paper would work just fine as long as it's in a small square like so. All right, friends, you're going to take your square and you're going to fold it corner to corner. So fold it corner to corner and give it a good crease down the middle. That's it, friends. Corner to corner, give it a crease down the middle, open it up, and then do the other corner to corner. We're trying to get it folded into this pattern so that we have an X going down the middle. That's it, friends. It doesn't have to be perfect. Please don't fuss over that. All right, everybody's got that corner to corner. And then open it up and do the other corner to corner. If you want to do it more than once, that's okay. Then we're going to take it and turn it upside down and balance it on top of our toothpick. So it looks a little bit like a wobbly umbrella. It's okay if it's not perfect. You can see mine is not. That is perfectly fine. If you need to use your scissors to cut yours into a smaller square, that's fine too. All right, friends, I'll give you a moment to get that ready. Well done, everybody. Well done. For this experiment, maybe I'll use the spoon this time in case you're wondering why I keep using a balloon. Maybe this time I'll switch to a spoon. And I think I'm going to generate it with a paper towel. So I'm going to use a plastic spoon and a paper towel. So I'm going to charge up my spoon with just a paper towel this time. Charge that up. Ooh, getting a little bit of wind action there, making my little umbrella twirl around. Let's see if we can generate that. Friends, you can do the same at home. Charge up your spoon, whatever it is you're using. And let's see what happens when we take that charged spoon and bring it near our piece of paper. Do you see that? Look at it spinning, following it around. Notice, friends, I'm not even touching it. I'm just going near it. And those negative and positive charges are causing it to spin. Oh, I think I'm going to knock mine right off. Might have to readjust mine. 1 second there. It's falling right off the toothpick. That's it, friends. And then you might have to recharge it to get it to spin. Are you able to do this as well? Isn't static electricity so much fun? So now we know you can get a lot of things to spin and turn and attract and repel with static electricity. All right, friends, I'm going to bring you back to my other camera because I want to show you one more thing we can do with static electricity. We can make amazing crafts. All right, friends. So this is a wonderful little craft that my daughter and I made together that works well with static electricity. Friends, in our chat, we have posted a resource link that's available to you that has not only this little craft here, this is our static electricity bird, but it's going to have some follow-up activities for all of our sections. So you might want to take a look at that. So this little bird, his body is made out of cardboard and his wings are made out of tissue paper. If you don't have tissue paper at home, you could use any of the items that we saw tonight that worked with static electricity. So you could use some toilet paper or even some tin foil. So once you charge it up, use the balloon, you could make his wings work with all of that static electricity. So much fun to make him fly using static electricity. Now, friends, speaking about birds, scientist Heather is going to talk to you about identifying real birds in your backyard, which is an awful lot of fun. So I'm going to pass you over to Heather. She's going to talk to you about that. And then you're going to come back to me to look at the science of paper helicopters in a little bit. Okay, friends, bye for now, and I'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Scientist Jen. I'm Scientist Heather, and I'm super excited about talking to you about birds today. And the reason I'm excited is because birds happen to be one of my very favorite animals. And I really like to go walking in the woods. And I bet you there's some of you that probably like to do the same thing. And when I'm walking in the woods, I like to use my senses to observe around me and see if I can hear or see anything. And one of the things I often hear are bird calls. And I'm wondering if there are some of you who are curious like me that wonder who's making that noise and why. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to answer some of those questions for you. But before I do that, I want to remind you, just like Jen did, that if you have questions about the birds that I'm going to be talking about today, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. And we're going to have a question and answer period at the end where we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. So I'm going to start by talking to you about the types of sounds that birds make. There's two main types of sounds that birds make: bird calls and bird songs. Now, a bird call is usually simple and short, and they are used for birds to communicate danger to other birds and to communicate with their family members. If you've ever heard a baby bird begging for food, you know they can make a lot of noise. So here is an example of a type of bird. It's a song sparrow. And this song sparrow has a call. Their call is very short and sounds like this. Okay. And so a bird song is different because it can be more complex and it can have it's usually a lot longer. So birds that use a song are using them to communicate with other birds to attract mates. And they're also trying to defend territory. So most of the time, it's the male birds that are singing. So that song sparrow that you heard before, its song sounds a lot different. It sounds like this. Whoops. Okay, so this is the song, or this is the call, sorry. Sounds like this. Hang on just a second. Here we go. And this is the song. So you can hear that they're very different from each other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to some birds that you might see in your backyard. We're going to listen to their calls, and then we're going to play a little game at the end where you're going to get to guess which birds are making which sounds. So I want you to use your best listening ears to listen to these calls and these songs, and then we're going to make some guesses at the end. So the very first bird that I'm going to tell you about, you might recognize, and it is this large black bird. And it is the American crow. And it's a pretty big bird. And I usually see them on the rooftops of the houses near me, and they're calling down to me. And their call is kind of a harsh, cawing sound. And it sounds like this. Oh, sorry. Hang on one second. There we go. Okay, I'll play it one more time for you. Okay, excellent. So remember that call because we are going to be asking you about it a little bit later. Here's the next bird, and this one is one of my favorites. This is a northern cardinal. You might have seen this bird in your backyard as well. And this is the male cardinal, and we know that because it's a brilliant red color. The female is more of a dull brown color. And male cardinals love to sit at the very top of high trees and sing their beautiful song. And it sounds a bit like a whistle. It sounds like this. Let's listen to that one more time. It's such a lovely song. Oh, I could listen to that all day. I love that call. All right, then the next bird you might be familiar with, especially if you are a baseball fan. This is the blue jay, and they are a little bit bigger than a cardinal, and they have that striking feather pattern. They're quite lovely. And this blue jay birds are one of the birds that often are the first ones that announce your presence if you go for a walk in the forest. They will send out an alarm call to other birds to say that you're coming. And it sounds a little bit like they're saying, thief, thief. And it sounds like this. Okay, you can hear that it sounds a little bit like thief, 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 thief. All right, this next bird is one of my very favorite birds that comes to my feeder in my backyard all the time and loves peanuts and sunflower seeds. It's a tiny little songbird and it's called the black-capped chickadee. Now, black-capped chickadees have lots of different calls that they make, but one of them in particular sounds like they're saying their name. It sounds like they're saying chickadee dee 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 dee, chickadee dee 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 dee, and it sounds like this. Okay, so if you think of a bird calling its name, you know it's a chickadee. Now, here's one of the last birds that I'm going to tell you about, and it is the mourning dove. And they are a lovely brownish gray bird that you will often find walking along the ground looking for food. And their song sometimes sounds like someone crying, and that's why they get their name. So this is what it sounds like. I'll play it one more time so you can hear that again. Okay, so now we're going to have play our little game. So I'm going to put the names of the birds up on my screen here, and then I'm going to play some calls for you, and then we're going to see if you can remember which bird makes which sound. So I'm going to play the sound, and then I'm going to give you a minute or so to talk with the people at your house and try and figure out what bird is making that sound. So here's the first one I'm going to play for you. Listen carefully. Okay, I'll play it one more time. Okay, so take a second and talk with the people at your house and see if you can figure out which bird is making that call. Kind of a sad song. Maybe sounds like they're crying a little bit. Maybe that's a hint I could give you.
Scientist Erin
And
here.
feel
We're seeing lots of
yes,
great guesses in the chat. We've got Melanie,
excellent.
who suggested it could be a dove, and Janice says it could be a mourning dove.
Excellent. Those are fantastic guesses. Wonderful. Yes. So please feel free to put your answers in the chat as we're going along. So if you said mourning dove, you are correct. It was. Excellent job. So now I'm going to play another sound and or another call, and you're going to try and tell me which one this one is. Okay. So bear with me here. All right. Ready? And here we go. I'll play it for you one more time. Okay, so take a second again and discuss with the people at your house which bird is making that sound. It reminds me kind of a harsh cawing sound. Maybe a larger bird.
Lots of great guesses are coming in, Scientist Heather. Some of our friends were even sharing that they can make some different bird calls. We've got lots of talented kids on this call too.
That is always a lot of fun to try and make noises that the birds make that you hear. That's fantastic. So if you said this was our American crow, you are correct. That cawing sound is the American crow. Excellent. So we have 3 birds left. Here's the next bird I'm going to play for you. Oh, hang on, sorry. Okay. Okay, so let's think about this one. I'll give you a hint. This bird might warn the other birds if you come for a walk in the forest that someone has entered. And you might have a t-shirt or a baseball hat that has this on it.
Our guesses are just starting to come in, Scientist Heather. It was really amazing how many people were able to guess the American crow. So we've got some really great listening ears. I'm just going to refresh right here so I can make sure We've got lots of guesses for blue jays coming in.
And excellent. You are correct if you said blue jay. That's the thief, thief, thief call. Excellent. So I'm going to take that one off. So we only have 2 birds left. You have to listen carefully and see which one it is that I'm going to play. Okay. Remember, this bird says its name. So think about which one I said says its name. Make some good guesses.
Lots of people are starting to guess. I see Allah says that it could be a chickadee. Let's see what other people are saying. Yep, the guesses are coming in fast and furious for chickadee. Lots of people like Yasmin and Huandeep
Excellent.
all guessing chickadees.
Fantastic. You are correct. It was the black-capped chickadee that says its name. And that leaves our last bird, which is the northern cardinal. And I won't make you guess it because we know it's that one, but I'm going to play it one more time just because I love that one so much. See if I can get it on here. Okay, here we go. Oh, wonderful. I could listen to that all day. So I hope that you've learned a little bit about birds and bird sounds, and that the next time you go in your backyard that you might be able to actually identify some birds by their call. Now, if you are really interested in birds and you want to learn a little bit more about them, Scientist in School has some really interesting resources that you could look at. And one of them is our game we call Birdo, and it's our version of bingo, but it's with birds. So this is a wonderful sheet that you could print off and you could take with you when you go to the park or go for a walk, and you're trying to fill in as many squares as you can, and don't forget to yell Birdo when you get a row. The other resource we have is called Backyard Birdwatch. And for this resource, you can print off the sheets and you can keep track of what birds you see in your backyard, or you can take the sheets with you when you go on a hike and identify those birds. So I hope you had a lot of fun listening to those bird sounds and looking at those lovely birds you might see in your backyard. I certainly enjoyed spending that time with you. One of the amazing things that birds can do is they can fly. And there's a lot of science behind that flight. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn you back over to Scientist Jen, and she's going to have you actually make something that flies. So over to you, Scientist Jen.
Thanks, Scientist Heather. That was fabulous. I love watching birds myself and listening to them. All right, friends, just like Scientist Heather said, we are going to make something that flies. So I'm going to flip over to my other camera and we're going to get going on that. Here we go, friends. All right, friends. Hopefully you had a chance to print off your paper copter outline. If you did not, friends, that's okay. It's available in the chat and you can print yours off momentarily and then you can make it with us after. We're going to need to cut out the outer shape here. You can do it yourself or ask for help from a adult lab assistant. So go ahead and cut that out there. I'll just give you a moment to do that. I know it takes just a moment. And friends, don't worry if it's not exact. Sometimes in science, we need to have everything exactly as is. Other times, it doesn't really matter that much. This is one of those times when it doesn't need to be perfect. I know it takes everyone just a moment to cut everything out. Great job, everyone. While everyone's cutting out, I do want to remind you that you could put any of your questions into our chat. We are looking so forward to hearing your questions. Right after we finish this section, we're going to go to our question and answer period. All right, friends, I'm going to show you the next step of what we're going to do because right now all we've got is a rectangular piece of paper. All right, so next up what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut this solid line here between A and B. And I have colored mine blue so you can see on the screen easily which one I mean. So we're just going to make a cut between A and B. We're going to cut that solid line and we're going to stop when we hit the dotted line. All right, everybody? So go ahead and cut right between A and B. Cut that solid line and stop when you hit that dotted line. That's it. There we go. I'll put that on the screen just for a moment for everybody. Excellent job, everyone. And once again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. Please do not fuss over that. Excellent, everybody. Excellent. All right. Next up, friends, we're going to cut the little solid line right above C. So we're going to cut the solid line and we're going to stop when we hit the dotted line there. All right, so we're going to cut the solid line right above C and we're going to stop when we hit the dotted line. So we're just cutting right there. That's it, my friends. Again, don't be too fussy. Perfect. Oh, and I can see some of my friends know what we're going to do next. Wonderful, wonderful. We're making a prediction. You are correct, my friends. That's right. The next step is, in fact, to cut the matching line on the other side. You were right. We are going to cut the last solid line above D. That is right. And again, we're going to stop when we hit the dotted line. So that's right. Make a last incision right above D there. That's it, friends. That's it. Good job, everyone. Good job. Okay. So now we have a piece of paper that has 3 cuts. It has a cut between A and B. It has a cut above C, and it has a cut above D. And this is where we get to have some fun folding. The first fold we're going to do is we're going to take this section here where it has C and we're going to tuck it under. You're going to see this dotted line here. You can fold it where the dotted line is and just tuck it under so we don't see C anymore. Make C disappear, just like that. Great job, everyone. That's right. I can see some of my friends are already making a prediction as to what we're going to do next. And you are correct. We're going to make D disappear next. So you can take D right along that dotted line and just tuck it under as well. There we go. And once again, friends, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as they're both hidden, that is exactly how we want it to look. You've got it. Hide C, hide D. That's it, friends. Wonderful job. The last fold is at the very end. Do you see this folded line or this dotted line at the end? We're going to make one last fold there and tuck it under. That's it. Tuck it under. Now, friends, some of you will have a paper clip and some of you might not. If you don't have a paper clip, you could use a couple pieces of tape around the bottom. That would work well. But if you have a paper clip handy, I want to make sure you know how to use a paper clip. Some of my friends have never seen a paper clip before. Paper clips are really fun to use. And I'm just going to pull this back so you can see my paper clip a little bit better on the surface because unfortunately I grabbed a blue paper clip today and I have a blue surface there. So friends, paper clips have an end that have 2 loops and they have an end that has one loop. We want to use the side with two loops. And in order to use a paper clip, what you want to do is you want to put one loop under your surface and one loop over the surface, and then you can slide it on. Once again, if you don't have a paper clip, you can go ahead and wrap some tape around here a few times. That will work just as well as a paper clip would. All right, friends, there we go. We've got our structure ready to go. Now, what are we going to do with this? That's a great question. We're going to try to see if it flies. All right, I've got mine ready. Do you have yours ready? All right, friends, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to take it just like it is, and I want you to try two different things. I want you to stand up as tall as you can, hold your arm out, and just drop it like it's hot. Drop it, and then I want you to take it, and I want you to try throwing it like a baseball and see if anything happens. Do that 2 times for each of those. Drop it twice and throw it twice, and then come on back to the screen. All right, friends, give it a go. All right, friends, lots of fun happening there. Excellent, excellent. Excellent. All right, friends, come on back to the screen. Come on back, because we're going to change the shape of it. And then we're going to see if it moves a little bit different. All right, friends, do you see this dotted line across A and B? I want you to take A and B and I want you to fold them down where that dotted line is. All right, and then you can push them back up a little bit so that it's kind of folded in half. Almost looks a bit like floppy bunny ears. That's it. Let's have them both folded down the same way at A and B, and let's try the same thing again. I want you to drop it 2 times, and I want you to throw it 2 times. So drop it like it's hot twice, and throw it like a baseball twice. All right, friends, go ahead and give that a go. Let's see what happens this time. Lots of excitement. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Lots of good stuff happening.
We're seeing some responses in the chat, Scientist Jen. Some people are saying that it's fluttering. Anastasia definitely saw it fluttering. And Seema says that dropping it is really good. It works well.
Okay, thank you so much for putting your comments in the chat, my friends. And thanks, Erin, for sharing. That's fabulous. Now, friends, come on back to the screen because I want you to try one more thing with this. And this one's pretty exciting to me. This is my favorite of them. All right, friends, is everyone back? I want you to take either A or B. It doesn't matter which one, but I want you to put it the opposite direction. So I want you to have one, what I call the bunny ears, one going one way and one going the other way. All right, friends, see if you can do that. Get one flopping forward and one flopping backwards, and then try it again. Again, stand up tall, hold your arm out, drop it like it's hot, and throw it like a baseball. Try that, my friends, and let's see what happens this time. And friends, please do let me know in the chat. This is very exciting to hear what you're saying.
I'm hearing some of the friends saying it's heavier now with the paper clip on it, I think. And some friends are testing out how it goes with throwing it. Yep, coming along really well. Lots of voices are welcome. I'll do my best to read them out. So one person is saying that it's not flying. So it will change a little bit depending how you've got those top flaps. So you can definitely test out different ways of moving those A and B flaps to see how it moves.
That's it. My friends, you may also want to try getting higher up. I find that really helps. If you happen to have 2 stories in your house, if you have an upstairs and a downstairs, you might want to try dropping it from the upstairs to the downstairs. Sometimes I find that really helps. All
And
right.
I think maybe I
Friends.
just needed to reload my view. Sorry, Scientist Jen. Everyone's seeing it's fluttering, it's twirly, it's twisting. Friends saying it's moving
Oh.
like a helicopter. Wow, it's spinning. I think I just needed to reload my view again.
There we go. And twirling and twisting is exactly what we'll see when we put the blades going the opposite way. You are right, friends. This will start moving like a helicopter. Now, why does that happen? We didn't see that when they were on the same side. And that's exactly right, friends. What's happening here is when we put the blades in opposite direction and it's coming down, the air is going to go up through the blades, right, friends? And that, my friends, is going to cause something called lift. And when the lift goes up through the blades, it's going to cause a slight little angle, which is going to make the blades turn. But, friends, we have two blades. And that means two blades going in the opposite direction. And because there's air giving lift in the opposite direction, that's what's going to make it spin and twirl. Isn't that fun, my friends? That's what makes this copter work. You might have seen something in nature that also uses this exact same idea. A maple key. Have you ever had one come down from a tree? The other day I was hit by one on a walk and I thought, what was that? And it made me laugh. It was a maple key that donked me in the head. That's right, my friends. So much fun. All right, friends, you have your copter to keep exploring with. And I am seeing some pretty exciting questions that are coming into our chat. So I am thinking maybe we'll head over to our chat to have some questions and answers, and we'll get to that. What do you think, Erin? Is it time for that?
That sounds perfect to me. So, everyone, you're
All
welcome to
right.
continue to add questions in the chat. And I, Scientist Erin, will be your voice to read them out. And I'm going to start with one for Scientist Jen coming up first. Scientist Jen, some of us were wondering, could we use static electricity to power our house?
This is a great question, friends. So far, nobody has figured out how to use static electricity to power our house. And here is why. Static electricity, although it's powerful, it's not something we have been able to control yet. Can you think of a very large source of static electricity? Something super powerful and loud. We see it sometimes during a storm. That's right, lightning. Friends, lightning is a wonderful, large example of static electricity. But unfortunately, static electricity, all the electrons are going different speeds in different directions. And my friends, that tends to blow things up. In order to power things, we need all those electrons to go the same speed and the same direction. So far, nobody has figured out how to take that giant bolt of static electricity and make it in to power. Maybe you'll be the one to figure that out. Wouldn't that be wonderful? That would be great. All right, let's see what our next question is.
We have another question about the color of static electricity. Does it have a color?
It does have a color. And you know what, friends? A lot of people might think it's yellow. But in order to see static electricity, you have to see it in the dark. So this is a really fun one to do. My friends, if you can, you need a volunteer. Get them to stand still in the middle of a carpet, drag your feet all around them and touch them skin to skin, and you will see that flash of light. And my friends, it is blue. Static electricity is blue.
That is fabulous. I'm seeing lots of questions also about birds. So I think I'm going to switch and ask a couple for Scientist Heather. But if you have more static electricity questions, that is totally welcome. Keep them coming. I'm going to do my very best. So, Scientist Heather, this next one is for you. One friend is asking, when do birds go to sleep?
Oh, what a great question. So it depends on what type of bird you're talking about. And you may have heard some science words that scientists use, and the words are nocturnal and diurnal. And so there are some types of birds that actually sleep during the day and they're awake at night. And this is a big group of birds that I'm sure some of you have probably heard of before, large birds with big talons, and they can sometimes make a hoo 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 sound. And so if you're thinking of owls, you are correct. Their owls are nocturnal, which means they sleep during the day and they are awake at night and would look for prey at night. Most other birds are diurnal, which means they're like us. So they're up during the day looking for food, making their nest, looking after their babies, and then they sleep at night when it gets dark, just like we do.
That is fabulous. We also had, actually, I think at least two different families ask, why can't penguins fly?
Another great question. And actually, I'm going to disagree that penguins actually can fly. They just don't fly in the air, they fly through the water. So their bodies are designed for them to have very strong pectoral muscles on their wings so they can swim through the water. And they can't fly in the air because they have fairly heavy, solid bones. Most birds that fly have very light and hollow bones. And so birds like penguins, ostrich, emu, they all have heavy solid bones, so they can't actually lift themselves out of the air. But a penguin does a great job of flying through the water, and they can swim very quickly from one place to another.
That's so interesting. That's amazing. We have lots and lots of bird questions. And the next one that I saw here, and this is a tough one. How many different kinds of birds are there?
Wow, that's a really hard question. And I can't tell you the actual number of birds, of different types of species there are in the world. How would I just say a lot of different types of birds. I can tell you one number that I think is really interesting. There is a man who last year had a special, what they call a big year, which he tried really hard to see as many different types of birds in Ontario as he could. And I believe the number was 356 birds that he saw in 1 year in Ontario. So that's the number of types of birds in Ontario. Imagine how many there are in the world. A lot more than that.
That is really fabulous. I can only imagine what a big job it is for people to count and figure out all of the different species of birds. I think the last one maybe that we'll do for birds. um, so we actually just had a really sweet one that I liked here. Do birds have birthdays?
Do they? Of course, they have birthdays. They have a day when they hatched out of their egg, and so that would be I don't think they celebrate their birthdays necessarily. They're not aware of that being a birthday, but sure, birds hatch out of an egg and have a day that they come into the world. So technically, we could say that's their birthday. They might even have different birthdays than the rest of their siblings in the nest because the eggs can sometimes hatch at different times.
Thank you, Scientist Heather. That is great. And I think we have a couple of questions here. I'm just looking, switching back over to Scientist Jen. Some questions about the paper helicopter activity. So one question is, are there some kinds of planes that don't have an engine?
Oh, yes, my friends, there are. Have you ever heard of a glider? A glider doesn't use an engine to fly. What it does, it either starts up high and then uses something to come down, my friends. Does anybody know what that is? That's right, it uses gravity. That's right. Or in some cases, you may have seen a glider being pulled up. Perhaps you've been somewhere tropical and they'll start you down low in the water or on the beach and they'll pull you up on a string, and then sometimes they release you or they just pull you using the wind. My friends, there are four things involved, four different forces to get something flying. We've got something that pulls up, something that pulls down, pulls forward, and pulls back. Those are all the forces involved in flight. Are you ready? I'm going to name them for you. All right, pulling down, we know that one. That is gravity. Going up is lift. We were talking a little bit about that to make our blades spin in our helicopter. Now, there's two other forces. Pushing us forward would be our thrust. That would be the engines in a plane. But there's another force that also pulls us backwards, my friends, and that is drag. You might have felt drag if you were ever riding on your bicycle. Have you ever felt the wind pushing you back? That's right, my friends, that's drag. So those forces are all in effect whenever we're flying in anything. Now, friends, which is the force that always wins? Does anybody know? Is it gravity? Is it thrust? Is it lift? Or is it drag? Let's see if you can answer my question. Is anybody thinking it's gravity? That's right. Were you thinking gravity? That's right, friends. On Earth, gravity always wins. Everything always comes back down. Well done, friends. Well done.
Thank you so much, Scientist Jen. We have lots of questions, but I'm afraid, my friends, that we're really close to time, and I know we have a few extra thank yous that I want to make sure we take time for. So from Scientists School, from Scientists in School, on behalf of myself, Scientist Erin, Scientist Heather, and Scientist Jen, I want to thank all of you for participating tonight. It was wonderful to be able to spend this time with your young scientists and see all of their wonderful responses. Thank you for spending your evening with us. I've posted again just now that link to the resources that will be there in the chat. You'll have to cut and paste that link into your browser bar to get that extra resources now, but it will also follow from PLASP in an email. So last of all, I want to thank PLASP Child Care Services so much for having Scientists in School be part of their annual parent and community meeting. It's been an absolute blast to share our time with you. If you have extra burning questions, do please feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll follow up as best as I can in our email to thank you all again for this evening. So thank you all so much for your time. It was really a pleasure to spend this with you. Good night.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I am sure many families and children will be conducting these experiments at home again as you have opened their eyes to the wonders of science. Again, a special thank you to our outgoing Board of Directors Chair, Nadia Timochenko, and a big PLASP welcome to Paul Street as he begins his role as the incoming chair. Thank you for your commitment and service to PLASP as an organization and to the children and families that we serve. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. We hope you had fun. Have a great night, and we will see you soon out in our programs and centers. Take care and good night.